Hello, and welcome to the very unofficial grade calculator Google Sheet. I will just preface this and say if there are any discrepancies on this between this and PowerSchool or what your counselors say, then you just ignore this sheet and I just made a mistake and you go with them. But this is a nice way to just kind of help you see where you're going, what you need for the rest of the year, and maybe set some goals for yourself. So let's jump right in. If you have made this copy and you have this blank form in front of you like this, you can see that there are some colors and some formulas that are already populating. And so basically all you're going to have to do is fill in your classes, fill in the grades that you have, and check off some boxes, and we'll use it like that. So let's jump over to an example that already has some stuff filled in. In this case, I am saying that it is quarter 3 right now when I'm recording this. So let's pretend that it's quarter 3 right now. Our semester 1 classes, this student had 2 of them, are over. The semester 2 and the full year classes are still ongoing. So first of all, let's take a look at the quarter GPAs. So your quarter GPAs are not things that go on your transcripts, but they can give you a good idea of where you are in the moment. They can also include you or exclude you from certain activities. So let's take a look at how that. All you have to do is go straight down the column. So any class you have in quarter 1, and that's going to be your GPA right there. And any class in quarter 2, that's going to be your GPA. And so you can see this student had a really strong start to quarter 1, and then kind of like they had a little rough quarter 2, and then quarter 3 they're already starting to bounce back a little bit, and we're not done with quarter 3 yet. So your GPAs are based off of the letter grade area that your class is in, and it also makes a difference if your class is a standard, an honors, or an AP or an IB class. Honors, IB, and AP are weighted a little bit differently. So check out this example. If this student's science class was honors and their English class was honors, you can see that both the quarter 1 and quarter 2 GPAs rose when I click the science from a 3 and a 1.5 to a 3.08 and a 1.58. So not terribly, because it's only a couple of classes, but it did rise up just a little bit. And the quarter 3 GPA rose up when I clicked the English from a 2.5 to a 2.58. So if you have any honors classes or IB classes or AP classes, which are for the upperclassmen, if you guys are watching this, then make sure you check those boxes so that it calculates your GPAs with those weights. If you ever want to see the unweighted GPA, you can just uncheck the boxes. There's my unweighted GPA. So let's go ahead and recheck those boxes, and then let's take a look at our final grades for semester 1 and what our final GPA might be and why it's blank here if I have finished these classes. So we have full grades in PE and health and no exam grade because they were exempt from the exam, so they did not take it. So this is their final grade in PE. In science, we have 2 quarter grades and an exam because they took the exam. And it looks like, if I'm looking at this 79.6, which is going to round up to a B, maybe the student, if we remove this, without the exam, this student has a 77, which is a C. So this student said, hey, let me try and take this exam and see if I can get up to that B to help out my GPA. And they scored a 90, and that was just enough. So now, these classes are done, but they're not calculating it in the GPA yet. But you can see they turned from red into gray because they have all the components necessary. If it is still red, it is missing something. We're going to play with those in a minute. If it's light gray, that means it's ready. So then you have the option over here, finalize my class grade. When you click that box, it will turn into a white background, it will bold the text, and it will include it in your final GPA. So both of these classes are done, and I have entered this correctly. So when I finalize this, I can see that right now I have 2 credits for this, and my GPA is 3.25. Looking good. Once again, it's because this science is an honors. If we unclick that, if it was a standard science class, I have 2 Bs. Bs are worth 3, so obviously my average is a 3.0. But because it's an honors class, the weighting is a little bit higher, so we get a little bit higher GPA. And that's for things that are already done. When you look at the final and you say, yes, that is the credit I'm getting. Let's look at some stuff that is not complete yet. And so we're going to scroll down and we're going to look at both the semester and the year long. So we've got 2 semester classes and we've got 4 full year classes. And you can see we're building these up, but right now all of their final grades are in the red. At this point, this is where you can ask yourself, what do I need to do to either raise up this GPA in quarter 3 that is still ongoing, or what do I need my final grade to be? So we are looking into the future, and we can put whatever values we want in here. So let's say like this person's their English one is a 78, and they're feeling pretty strong about it, but they want to be conservative. So they're not going to give themselves too high of a grade in quarter 3 and just stick with that. So quarter 4, let's say that like they're committing to improving a little bit, and they get an 85. That is going to change our final GPA to an 81 point, or our final grade to an 81.5. We can even put an exam in here, and let's say this person wants to be like very, very conservative. Well, let me put in a 50 for the exam, and what is my worst case scenario? So if I get a 78 and an 85, then I get a 50 on the exam, my worst case scenario is 75. I want to get a B. What is it going to take me if I get a 78 and 85 to get a B? Let's put in a 75 for the exam. And you can see that changes to an 80.2, so I can actually squeeze a little bit out. What if I went to a 73? If I went to a 73, it's a 79.8 for my final. What about a 72? A 72. So I can score a 72 on the exam and still get a B in this class if these were my final quarter grades. So these are the values that you want to experiment with that are not finalized yet. And you can change this and be like, hey, what if I really hustle quarter 3 and I get this up to an 82? I got an 82, I got an 85, my final grade is an 83.5. Is there any way I can get that to an A? Let's put in 100 for the exam and see what happens. Turns out, no matter what I do, I've got a B. So that makes me feel good because I know I'm not dropping down any. Right? Because if I put a 50 in there, oh, never mind, I can drop down a little bit. So I have to be very mindful. What do I need to do? I need to get a 60. Nope, that won't do it. If I get a 65, if I get a 65 on the exam, that's going to save my B. So this is just a way to let you know what you have left to do, how you can predict and set your goals for those upcoming grades. In civics, I started with an 89. What if I really crushed it the second time and I got a 97? What's my final grade? Right now it's a 93. As long as I've got my exemptions from my exam, like that is good to go. So let's say this person really got on at quarter 4, right? And let's say they got a 90. So now they're at an 86. Can this person get it from an 86 to an A? If they get 100 on the exam, they can't quite do it. So they know if I want to squeeze an A out, I got to get a little bit higher. So what if I get an 85 this quarter and a 90 next quarter and 100 on the exam? That's going to get me there. And then we've got some of the full year classes, and you can see we've already got our first 2 quarters, which are locked in, but our 3rd quarter we could still change, and then we also have our 4th quarter on exam. So let's just go put a few values in here just for funsies and see what happens. So band, like maybe they just had some absences and they missed a performance or something in the middle there, but they got back on it and they did really well. Like I said, they're crushing it in this last quarter, so they got up to a 92. French, pretty darn good, kind of like foundations of math. Maybe they hired a tutor. They really picked it up a notch. Let's say they got an 89 in foundations of math, and in math 1 they actually managed to get up to a 93. And then math 1 has a final exam for sure. And let's say like they got an 80 on their exam. So now we've got some classes in here, and you want to know, hey, if these were my final grades, what would my overall GPA be? Well, just click the boxes. Click the finalized grade boxes, and you'll see all of them turn to white. And that just lets you know that it's going to calculate in here. And you can see right here that it is a 3.25 overall GPA. Now, maybe I forgot, and I said, oh my gosh, this civics, I forgot this is honors. I click that gives me a little bit more, right? So be very careful of your honors and your IB and your AP weighting to get an accurate GPA. And if you want to count for this final, if you're just like looking forward to what will my year end GPA be with my full credits, make sure you click on this finalized class grade button here. And then if you ever want to take it away, you can just uncheck it, and it goes back to temporary and is not calculating it. And then you can change any of these values that you want to anything at all. If you happen to try and edit something that is not part of those cells, it'll give you a warning, and it'll still let you do it if you want to. But like for example, if I just came up in here and I said hi, it'll tell me, hey, heads up, you're trying to do this. If it was an accident, just go ahead and hit cancel. When you do that, we're back to our screen. So that's how it works. If you are interested in the calculations, keep on watching, and I'll explode those out. And maybe I made a mistake. Maybe you can catch that. If you do, please let me know, and I can update it for the master file. So the calculations are grouped in some rows, because if you can see up here, it goes from some columns. It goes from column J to column R, and it's got this little plus sign. When you explode this, yep, I'm gonna hit don't show for 5 minutes so we can keep editing. And here are the actual calculations. So what all this does is this turns the numbers that are entered into their GPA equivalents over here. And it checks the honors and it checks the IB boxes to see if like which ones apply. So just as an example, if you look in this formula right here, it's this super long string of if statements, right? Like first of all, it checks to see is it blank. If it's blank, it ignores it. Then it goes on and says, okay, wait a minute, is this an honors class? And then it applies that scale. If it's not, then it says it is an IB class. Then it applies that scale. And if neither of those are checked, then it applies just the standard scale. So that is simply what all these do. And you can see the ones that we have not put values in for are not populated. So it just skips that, so that when it calculates the GPA, it's only calculating the fields that have numbers in them. One of the shortcomings of this is that if someone has a 0.0 GPA, it will not calculate the GPA. It will notice the zeros and just skip over them. So just be mindful of that. That if it has, oh crap. No, that's actually fine. My apologies. So if someone has a 0.0 GPA, then it absolutely will not. It just won't show it. If they have zeros in their GPA, like if some of the grades are Fs and are calculated as zeros, that's fine as long as there's at least one other class. Then it will still calculate the average. But if it is straight zeros, then it will not calculate the average, or at least it won't show the average in these boxes right here. So that is a limitation of it. And then the final grades here, you can see these are also formula based. And first, it just checks to see if the exam is blank, right? If H5 is blank, which is this right here. So if the exam is blank, here you calculate it just based on the quarters. But if it does have a grade in the exam, then it'll calculate the full thing out. So the final grade will calculate differently based on whether an exam grade is entered or not. So that can help out for those classes with exemptions, or and it can help a kid who's trying to determine, should I take this final or not as well. So that's kind of the back end of it. The most important thing is like the final GPAs, they're based on, hey, check and see if there is an exam grade, and if there's not one, then just use the quarter grades and average them out. If there is an exam grade, then use the weights for that and calculate it that way. And then these little yellow columns over here are just changing the numerical grades into our GPA calculators. And if you got any questions about that, or if you see anywhere I messed up, or if you're just kind of interested in anything like that, just let me know. Thanks so much, guys.